We begin the bulletin with the climate change summit that's being held in Paris. Prime Minister Modi has reached Paris and for all the important UN global climate change meeting and the climate change talks today, all eyes will be on the Prime Minister. While developing countries are looking at him to champion their interests in winning funds, the developed bloc, including the US, is worried that India could end up scuttling any deal. Prime Minister Modi will join an estimated 150 presidents, prime ministers and heads of states at the crucial climate summit. That includes a meeting with the US President. The Prime Minister will also jointly launch the India-mooted International Solar Alliance with French President François Hollande. Now, the aim of the conference is to build a consensus on keeping the average global temperature rise below 2 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels. US has been stepping up pressure on India to set much higher emission cut goals than it already has. As compensation, developed countries are expected to invest huge amounts in pushing green technology in the developing world.
The commitment of this government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, is to go more and more towards clean energy. We are a very responsible global citizen. India has taken a leadership position when it comes to addressing concerns of climate change. More than half the pollution up there, half the greenhouse gases are from Europe and the United States of America, and they will have to be taking responsibility.
We are not opposing, we are proposing. Our propositions are balanced and which will produce balanced, equitable and just climate agreement. And to that end, we'll help out all the countries to negotiate and come to a midpoint where we will have both achieved.
Well, one of the big things that's going to happen tomorrow is the Global Solar Alliance. How is India looking at this? Is it a way of a breakthrough in terms of the way we would lead the climate change dialogue?
It's a very important breakthrough and a very important initiative by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because he imagined of Solar Alliance. All countries between Cancer and Capricorn, that is tropical and subtropical countries, who get very bright sunshine for more than 300 days in a year, are the best suited for the development of solar energy. And today, the new technology, the joint research, the joint demand, and many other bilateral, multilateral cooperation will stem from this. If we go ahead with this kind of and tomorrow it will be launched. French and many other governments have also collaborated with this.
What will India's role be? Would we be setting up office and then funding it a bit? Or what are we hoping to get from this?
The details are being worked out by the Renewable Power Ministry. But yes, there will be some sort of secretariat and some sort of arrangement where all countries can put their contributions and also benefit from it, because it's a benefit to all.
Also, for more developments on this climate change summit, joining me live from Paris is Group Editorial Director Publishing Raj Chengappa. Raj, Prime Minister has landed in Paris there late last night, IST, and all eyes will be on him and on India. Possibly one of the tightest walk diplomatically for the Indian Prime Minister.
Today is really a big day for planet Earth. Today is the day that almost 190 countries will get together. There are something like 150 heads of state, including Prime Minister Modi, who will be there at the inaugural ceremony that will begin from a couple of hours from now. The imperatives are there. The Earth is experiencing catastrophic climate change. If the pace continues, and there is a 2-degree rise in temperature, there would be irreversible damage to the Earth. So this meeting, which comes after the failure of Copenhagen, to decide on how each country should reduce their emission intensities, particularly of carbon dioxide, and come to an agreement that is equitable and fair, which what India is pushing for, will determine the fate of the Earth. So as we go through the events today, you will find that apart from the inaugural ceremony, there will be India spearheading a major movement to form a global solar alliance.
Right.
And that would happen later in the afternoon, along with French President Hollande. Prime Minister Modi will launch this huge program which India will probably chair and have the headquarters in Delhi.
Now, Raj, if you look at the history of such summits, there hasn't been much success. Why is Paris so important? I mean, why is the entire world looking at a successful climate change summit in Paris?
Well, essentially because despite the agreement that India had, along with other countries in 1997, the Kyoto Protocol that you mentioned, the developed countries which had the responsibility of cutting their emissions foot dragged. They just didn't do much, particularly United States. Europe, some countries did so, but most countries avoided carrying out the commitments they had made. So the world now has moved to a very dangerous tipping point. And here what they've agreed to do is that every nation will come out with what is called a voluntary cut. In technical terms, they call it internationally determined cuts that is there. These would then lead to what is a Paris Agreement, where everyone wants whatever they can do, they will do. But it surely doesn't add up. Lets off a lot of the developed countries which polluted the atmosphere in the past. And the world is paying for it with much lighter commitments in what they should be doing. So I think what India will try and do today is to bring what Prime Minister Modi calls a certain climate justice to this whole business, which is that those who had polluted the air first should do a lot more and should move towards some major issues, major contributions, both in terms of technology and finance to the developing countries.
Right, Raj Chengappa, Group Editorial Director, Publishing, joining us live from Paris. We'll keep getting you the latest developments, that's what's coming in Paris today. Now, despite the ban on gatherings enforced by the French authorities, over 200 protesters were arrested in Paris ahead of the climate summit. Now, police fired tear gas and clashed with demonstrators on Paris's Place de la République Square after they tried to stage a demonstration before the UN Climate Change Summit. Environmental and other activists also lined up shoes on Paris streets to represent people being barred from protests. Now, the demonstrators urged the world to agree to deep emission cuts and to help poor countries cope with global warming.